Kitts too, so I'm wearing 2 caps. I'll come to that and how you can also make that potent. I heard the chairman in charge of your investment program speak yesterday. Fantastic strategy, isn't it? Fantastic. But we can do 1 or 2 things better. And that I'm ready to discuss further with him. But why is small St. Kitts potent? Why does it have the capabilities? It has it because of the size and an able leader who has vision. So you can all have a shared vision and a small team. You all know each other. You know who is doing things, you know who is not, you know who is going to move fast. So in that, you have to leverage on that. I'm not sure whether I should take this speech, but I think I will, because I think it's very important because of the words inside, which will go to the Secretariat to add some things. Or maybe I should just take the salient points. The most critical thing in this speech is you must not do things the way we've been doing it, or else we'll just speak and get bogged in bureaucracy and nothing's going to happen, I can assure you. So how should we do this? How should we bring more investments, get more interest into St. Kitts? Aisha, fantastic thing you did. You've come out of St. Kitts to meet the most important, the most purposeful country, black country in the world. Your cousins, Nigeria. First step, very important. What's the next step? Do not be bogged down in bureaucracy. Get things done. Cross-border trade is now going through seismic changes with the policies from America, the tariffs like the Prime Minister mentioned yesterday. You need to think out of the box. I'm sorry, Dr. Tinuke, I'm going to mention this. They keep on saying I shouldn't speak too much about technology and blockchain. I'm going to speak about this. Carefully, you have to set up a team to immediately look at how you can take advantage of the latest technology that all the young people are getting into, the blockchain. How are we going to use blockchain to facilitate trade? It's something that you have to look at, or else we go through the traditional system of trade, going through the US and all that, payment system. It's not going to work. It hasn't worked. It's very expensive. The new technology cuts down bureaucracy. You can easily monitor it. You can get everybody in it. You can involve the youths, you can involve women, you can involve small and medium enterprises. It's working, and China has started it. China is going to do it. And you keep on asking, how come China is so successful with us? It's because they did not get bogged down in bureaucracy. And they didn't do things the normal way people would, the traditional way that the West would want us to do it. So your team must be ready to start working on technology. Your team must be ready to start sharing what we have in terms of capacity development. We are ready and willing to share with you. Mr. Prime Minister, permit me to also inform you that this afternoon we'll be speaking to Sawyer, and not just speaking, we don't believe in speaking, we'll be taking that step forward to have a clear way to partnership with the Abuja Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Today, we will love to sign the agreement, but we'd like you to have a look. The agreement is drafted by you anyway, but we'd like you to have a look at it, and then we can sign virtually. We want to start it off immediately. Let me just read my conclusion. I actually started by saying that for this, the summary of what we are doing here is to get connected. Not just to get connected, to collaborate. Sincere collaborations. You have to be careful here. Very specific and well-targeted collaborations. And then to co-create. We are willing and ready to do this with you. You can also use the Abuja Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Incidentally, a citizen of St. Kitts is going to be the next president of that Chamber of Commerce and Industry. So we need to use that platform. We have over 1,000 members here in Abuja. We are also home to the National Dispute Resolution Center. Anything you want to do, you must take dispute resolution in the forefront, because transactions will always have legal contracts that you need to interpret from time to time. We're willing to be your dispute resolution center here in Nigeria. We're willing to do your background checks for you here in Nigeria. We're willing to collaborate with you and identify credible partners with you here in Nigeria. Aisha, next time we'll work with you when we are going to St. Kitts. Then I'll be able to roll down the red carpets to welcome you. Thank you very much. I'm not going to take too much of your time. But before I do go, a very special message from somebody who is very special. Actually, I became citizen by investment, not because of me, but because of my wife. She was extremely jealous that I am here and she's not. And she said I should say hello to the Prime Minister and to the First Lady. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Adeshuba, First Vice President, Abuja Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and he is an investment promoter by profession, and I like to engage him from time to time, even when he was in EPZ as a helmsman of that agency. He made so many giant strides in reaching out to countries of the world to invest in Nigeria. But let me quickly share this with you. With professors, I become a bit skeptical when I talk with them or when they sit in an audience and I have to address them. First, at the wake of the millennium, our former president of Nigeria, President Olusegun Obasanjo, because there was this hues and cries about computers no longer working, our phones shutting down, because there was going to be a millennium bug. And as a result of that, out of wisdom, he got an expert, a professor, to traverse 20 Nigerian universities to talk to students about the millennium bug and its correlationship with cybernetics. And this professor, crisscross from the north central, southwest, southeast, south, he's got just northwest to go, and he's got like 2 universities. Exhaustion had actually set in because this was to be done within 2 weeks. And so as they were driving from Kano to progress to Maiduguri, that is in Borno State, the driver saw that his master was visibly exhausted. 20 universities, 2 weeks. So he was almost doing 3 universities in 1 day. And so they moved on, and then he said to his boss, "Sir, you're very exhausted. And I have been with you in the lecture theaters. I've listened to you present. I have an understanding of your mannerisms, the nuances, and I can also gesticulate just as you do. Can I please take the next lecture so you can rest a while?" The boss, the lecturer, the prof, saw wisdom in that and quickly jumped at it. And so there was a change of attire. The man, they actually have almost kind of the same height, same kind of body build. And so what they did was to exchange attires, and his thick glasses was handed over to him. On getting to the university, there was a warm reception, and then off to the theater, lecture theater they went. And as they got in, the man delivered a very scholarly lecture. And at the end of it all, it was time for Q&A. And then a professor, a fellow professor, rose up and said, "Please, I have listened to your very scholarly presentation and lecture, but I still haven't come to an understanding of the correlationship between cybernetics and the millennium bug. Can you please shed some light on that?" And the man looked at him and said, "Prof, I'm surprised that This kind of question is coming from a fellow professor as myself. My driver, sitting at the other corner of the hall, could actually give an answer to this question. And ladies and gentlemen, behold, when the driver got up and responded to the professor, there was a standing ovation for the driver, not knowing that that was the professor. And so, it's the same kind of wisdom that Professor Adeshuba has brought to bear in with his presentation. I'd like that we please give him yet another resounding applause, please. Permit me to, at this juncture, recognize the presence of the president of KK Kingdom Nigeria Limited, Alhaji Khalifa Naziru Abdullahi. Please a warm round of applause for him. We also have a very successful businessman, the president of ACL Group and commander of the Order of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Dr. Ruwani Azibapo. God bless, CFR. He's a conglomerate, and aside that, he owns the second largest privately owned refinery, oil refinery here in Nigeria. Please applaud him one more time. Thank you very much. We've listened to Professor Adeshuba, and at this point in time, we're going to get another perspective to that same presentation by a very renowned diplomat. But he's going to talk to us, he's going to be talking to us about AU diasporic potentials, building sustainable partnerships for long-term growth. To take us through that will be Ambassador Larry D. Vaughan. Please can we welcome him with a resounding applause. But just before you take the stage, permit me to tell this very wonderful audience what you are, who you are, what you stand for, and how much you've carried on with your profession. Larry D. Vaughan is a distinguished diplomat and a public servant from St. Kitts and Nevis. Currently, he serves as the country's ambassador to the Caribbean community, the CARICOM, the Association of Caribbean States, ACS, and commissioner to the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, or ECS. Ambassador Vaughan holds a Master's of Arts degree in Leading Innovation and Change from the York St. John University in Yorkshire, England. He was the first participant from St. Kitts and Nevis in the World Trade Organization's Netherlands trainee program in 2015, focusing on trade for economic development of small islands developing states. His professional experience spans sales, marketing, broadcasting, and international trade facilitation in both public and private sectors. In March of 2023, Ambassador Vaughan presented his credentials to the CARICOM Secretariat in Guyana, officially commencing his role as an ambassador. He has been instrumental in organizing events such as the Diaspora Conference held in July 2024, aimed at strengthening ties with nationals abroad. Additionally, he has engaged with diaspora groups, including the St. Kitts and Nevis Club Lebanon, to foster international relations and support humanitarian initiatives. And as head of the Regional Inauguration and Diaspora Unit, Ambassador Vaughan focuses on integrating nationals living abroad into the economic, social, and cultural lives of St. Kitts and Nevis. His efforts including policy development to enhance diaspora engagement and contributions to national development. I'm going to abridge that, and I'll plead for your kind understanding that you just let me introduce you at this point to come over to the restroom for your presentation. Please can we welcome His Excellency Ambassador Larry Vaughan. Please a round of applause for him as he makes his way here.
Good morning, one and all. Good morning, one and all. All right. I want to begin by saying I am happy to be here, and also I want to recognize my Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Terence Michael Drew, and Mrs. Drew. I also want to recognize the former president of Mauritius, President Amina Fakim, it is. Minister Samuel, good morning, sir. I want to prepare you for something in my presentation, just to say good morning. And also to recognize all the special delegates, the diplomatic corps, investors, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, all. I address you this morning on the ways that the African Union, the AU, and CARICOM, and all our peoples within the AU and CARICOM can partner for the strengthening of the ties that we are seeking to make here in these weeks, in these days, sorry. And I am Larry Vaughan, head of the Regional Integration and Diaspora Unit, blah, 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 enough about me. Next slide. I want to premise my presentation on a song that I was taught when I was 8 years old. It was a song written by a lady by the name of Pamela Wall of St. Kitts and Nevis, and the song was one of the options for our national anthem in 1983, and it goes, "We stand upon the threshold of a new and happy day. The sorrows of our history have now been washed away. From Africa and England, America and France, our fathers have been gathered by purpose or by chance. O beautiful twin islands, combined the new and old. The sun, the stars, the moon are ours to have and to hold. In the councils of the nations, though small, we have a place. We'll strive to work and live together in God's fulfilling grace." The partnerships that we are going to speak about, it's about working together and striving to work together despite what were those different and difficult challenges of over 400 years that separated us. But today, we have the opportunity to work together in God's fulfilling grace. And so in this presentation, go back one, please, we want to talk about three things: how our shared heritage of Africa and the Caribbean and the Africa's sixth region can help us to build partnerships for our mutual benefit. And so part one, our shared history. And what I want to come out of this is that what stands between the Caribbean and Africa is only distance, not difference. And let me tell you why. The enslaved Africans came to St. Kitts and Nevis first in 1626. Because St. Kitts was settled in 1624 and 1625 by the English and the French. And they needed some workers, let's call it that. And so the Spanish, who had owned our side of the world after the Treaty of Tordesillas in 1494 or thereabout, was able to bring those workers to the region. And moving on one, we were able to recognize that 4.7 million enslaved persons came to the Caribbean. And they were taken primarily from the West African tribes that now are the nations of Nigeria, Benin, Guinea, Ghana, Senegal, Angola, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo, as far down as that. But what has survived today in our Caribbean is that we have the surviving elements of the African culture in our communities. The food, a strong use of cassava and of, well, we call it cornmeal, you call it maize. And so I will show you that just like you have, I think it's called the fufu, where you make it with the cassava and other yam and others, we do it with the cornmeal, and we cook that, and I'll show you that shortly. And we have the music and the storytelling through our songs we call calypsos. And we have the stilt dancers, which we call the mokojumbis, and you call the stilt dancers. And we have the rhythms that are strongly influenced by the drum. And then there is a stonework that is very popular on the island of Nevis that we have seen come out of Africa. Next slide. And there's a gentleman on the far left for you, and that's my Minister of Culture. You know him as my Minister of Agriculture. And he led our national carnival on stilts in that same African tradition. And we have the makajambi, and here we have the cornmeal above, and the stonework here on the island of Nevis, because we are Africans. We are your brothers and sisters. And so what I want to come out of this first aspect is that the use of our past is both for experience and also for the direction of the partnership that we want to discuss. Next slide. Secondly, we need to speak about that sixth region of Africa. And I want to take away from this that it's a partnership that is built on a relationship. Now, here are the 5 regions of Africa, and I'm so sorry that my Premier of Nevis has left, but I wanted to show that somewhere between 2017, good old Morocco became Africa again. Yes. Having left in 1984, they came back in 2017. And so there are 55 countries across 5 regions. And Africa is working together. And so the partnership must be that while Africa is working together, there is the element of the Caribbean working along with our brothers and sisters of Africa. Next. And so, in 2012, the AU made a declaration stating that all persons of African descent living outside of Africa will be called the sixth region. And in that sixth region, there are 4 elements that I want to look at. One, that's shared heritage. And I showed you the shared heritage we have. And that there will be functional cooperation, that there will be shared benefits of that cooperation, and that by having a sixth region, there will be an increase to the global African footprint. Because, as the next slide will show, that there is a Caribbean singer by the name of Peter Tosh, of blessed memory, who said, "No matter where you come from, as long as you're a black man or black woman, you're an African." And so we accept our position that we are Africans living in the Caribbean in that diaspora. Now, there's another group called the Caribbean Community. 15 nations, here are the flags, and I will outline what makes this region so great in the aspect of the sixth region. Next slide. There are 15 member states with about 18 million people, and where more than 65% of the population have African descent. These countries, they do have a productivity of more than 100 billion US dollars. However, less than 17% of that work is in agriculture. That productivity is in agriculture. While about 40% of our population is added onto each year with tourism arrivals. So there is great potential within our sphere for further expansion, and we believe that there is partnership that could be had with Africa to meet this. And so, somewhere around 2021, in the midst of COVID, our leaders decided that that will not keep us back. And so the heads met on September 7, 2021. And during that time, the heads met and they decided to strengthen the South-South cooperation and to address shared environmental and geopolitical challenges that we were facing at the time. And the outcomes of that meeting was to have increased diplomatic relationships, joint actions on climate change, cultural exchanges, economic cooperation, especially for increased trade in goods, in services, investments, intellectual property. And so follow-up is, and forgive me for the wrong date of 2024, that in 2025, September the 7th, there's a commitment that the heads will meet physically in Addis Ababa to cement that relationship, because the time has come for us to meet face to face, shoulder to shoulder, to work towards that better integration of the Caribbean and Africa. But let's talk about St. Kitts and Nevis as a country. St. Kitts and Nevis has diplomatic relations with about 124 countries, including Nigeria. The foreign policy of St. Kitts and Nevis prioritizes not only regional cooperation and sovereignty and sovereign and sustainable development, but we engage in multilateral partnerships to address economic and environmental challenges. We believe that as a microstate, it is through multilateralism that we are able to make better our agenda to have a better world for our citizens and a better world for all. And so we have 25 states of the 55 that we have, in Africa, sorry, that we have diplomatic relations with. And they are listed there. And we have 3 African nation states to which we have an ambassador. Unfortunately, at this point, that ambassador is a non-resident ambassador. And so the partnerships we have to look for is to strengthen on this. How do we make sure that St. Kitts and Nevis has diplomatic relations with all 55 and not just 25 of the 55? How do we make sure that we have more diplomatic and ambassadorial level engagements with the other states? Next slide, please. And so I've come to the crux now of partnerships, because the partnerships must be a shared commitment for development and a path to progress. And so there are 2 reasons I want to postulate why we should have this partnership. One, Africa is on the rise. And I believe, I always tell my friends, it is better to get on the elevator at the ground floor rather than to have to run up the steps to catch it at another floor. And if Africa is on the rise, let us catch it now that we are at that area where the mother continent is experiencing economic expansion through diversification. Africa has a young, growing, and innovative population, and we must be able to work with Africa on advancements in technology and the infrastructural development. But at the same time, the Caribbean is a story of resilience. We are very surprised when we hear that St. Kitts and Nevis has a population of 50,000 or 52,000. Hey, It is because we seek to punch above our weight and we seek to make sure that we continue to be relevant in all spheres. And so we continue to be an example of a successful strategic thinking body through economic adaptations, risk planning, and sound social policies that have a proven record, and we also have a proven record of partnering with others. And let me give you an example. Are you aware that the University of the West Indies, which is an organ of the Caribbean, has an Institute for Global African Affairs in Johannesburg? Are you aware of that? But if you're not aware of that, second slide. Are you aware that it also has with the University of Lagos here in Nigeria, this Institute of African and Diaspora Studies? That is the kind of partnership that already exists and we want to strengthen on with our institutions across the borders. Next slide, please. And so, this is what I want to postulate to us. That we look at 6 areas for partnership. I would like to see partnership on that multilateral basis where the AU and CARICOM can work more closely when we're looking at the dialogue to address the global challenges, whether we're talking about trade and the shared payment systems that was spoken about earlier between us. Whether at the state level, where bilaterally we continue to have that strengthened relationship between our member countries, St. Kitts and Nevis and all 55 states, all 55 states and all 15 states of the Caribbean community. We must look also at infrastructure and trade facilitation at our different countries, on the country level. Because you don't want that people are willing to come, but that the infrastructure is not in place. And we need also to look at investment agreements and promotion. And so we must talk about the St. Kitts Investment Promotion Agency and the Nevis Investment Promotion Agency and the Nigeria Investment Promotion Commission and how we can work at the state level to have these aspects working and strengthening the diplomatic relations and access. Access here for me means that, hey, somehow we may have to get rid of a number of these visa requirements that our people can have more free movement between us across these countries. Then I go down to the sectors, because businesses are in sectors. And so how do we make sure that we are able to promote areas of competitive advantage in each of our countries? For example, St. Kitts and Nevis is, can I say, a boss when it comes to tourism-related activities. How is it that we can share our experience and our expertise in tourism-related matters with you here in Nigeria? How can you share with us your experience in infrastructure development across those sectors and building? How can we share with you our experience in resilience? How can you share with us your other experiences? This is what we need to look for. And we now must have sector pairings and collaborations and research into these sectoral opportunities, because sometimes we have potentials that we don't know about until we have unlocked it through research and development opportunities. Businesses. We need to have business promotional directories. I need to know what the businesses are over here. You need to know what businesses exist in St. Kitts and Nevis. Partnering, sharing, trade fairs. This is a wonderful summit. Now I need to see the businesses of St. Kitts and Nevis coming to Nigeria, the businesses of Nigeria coming to St. Kitts and Nevis, so that we can partner, we can share information. And also we can provide logistics. These businesses, because we need planes, we need boats, we need information technology links. Who will provide those logistics? Because those logistics help in building and promoting the partnership. The social organizations, our churches, our charities, our cultural groups, our festivals that are happening. How do Nigerians know about Sugar Mass? How can Kititians know about the Victoria or the Vic Carnival that happens around the Victoria Falls that is between Botswana and other South African countries there. There's a big carnival that happens every July, I'm told. Now, how can we make sure that others know about it? And finally, and not the least among them, are the average man and woman, the consumers of the goods and the services. Because if I don't know the value of Nigerian goods, or if I don't have a sense of the historical and the heritage that I share with Africa, I'm not going to have an interest. And so we must build the awareness and make it available to the people for there to be interest, for that partnership, for that trade, for that movement to happen. And so we also need the communication and travel. I spent much of yesterday afternoon in my room looking at AIT. Is that a television station here? I want to see it when I go back to Bastille. I want you to see Caribbean television here in Africa, because that awareness helps to build the partnership. We cannot have our partnership in isolation and in silos. And so I want to move forward to wrap up and say, these are the areas that we must look at. It is sport, it is partnership in building, in business, sorry, in making sure we have standards, in tourism, in agriculture. It is partnership is not just in any one area, but in all that we do. This is what this slide says to us. And so I want to wrap up quickly by going back to Marcus Mosiah Garvey, who in one of his speeches said, "Look to Africa, for the day of deliverance is at hand." And so I close to the words of Pamela Wall once again to say, though small, we have a place, and we'll strive to work and live together in God's fulfilling grace. Thank you very much.
Please, can we give another round of applause? I have two observations, and it would be wrong for me not to point them out. First of all, was that not a beautiful slide? We've had speakers, and this is no bias, but that was a really good presentation. Second of all, we could have easily mistaken him for a spoken word artist. Did you hear the passion and the... Please, one more time, a round of applause. Maybe the next investment summit, we might look at putting him up as one of the MCs. You'd be surprised at what he can do. All right, so like my co-MC Andy mentioned, today is very short, and believe it or not, we're slightly behind schedule, and would want to welcome someone that for the past 2 days I have come to admire. A visionary, a trailblazer. She shatters barriers with grace, setting new standards with boldness and brilliance. She's unstoppable, clearly. She's fearless. She defines success, inspires generations, and she's shaping the future with unwavering determination. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, if you have been inspired these few days by what has been happening here, it is because someone dared to dream. Please, with a resounding applause, let us welcome the convener of this event, the managing director, Accra Consults, Miss Aisha Maina. Please, a round of applause. I thought we were going to have a standing ovation.
That was exactly what I was looking forward to getting. A standing ovation for Miss Aisha Maina. Thank you very much.
Your Excellencies, Prime Minister, Prime Minister's wife, former President, I will stand on existing protocols. First and foremost, if you would permit me, I would like to thank the powerhouse of people who, without them, this would not have happened. Ceremony Ubwa, where are you? Ceremony? Helsinta Linda Ojo, please come on stage. Without them, I could have had this idea. I could have strived to make this happen, but I could not have implemented it to this level. Please take your bow and take your flowers, because without you, this wouldn't have happened. Thank you. I thank everyone else who took a chance to believe in the nonsense that I was saying, in the weird things that I always say, not just about being female or male, or Hausa or Yoruba, Northern or Southern, or Nigerian or non-Nigerian, but just being African. I thank you for accepting that. Though I am weird, I make sense sometimes. And people registered to be here, to listen, to support this idea, to give me as much resources, advice. I thank Ambassador Rosalind Hazel, who I met, very interestingly, on a lunch table where I did not have any lunch. And somehow we're here today. And today I have a family. Though I am not Kititian by passport, I am Kititian by blood. Everyone asks me why I chose St. Kitts and if I'm a St. Kitts and Nevis passport holder. And I always ask them why. Why do I need to have a passport? I'm a global citizen. I am African. And wherever I go, I see Africans. Wherever I go, I see the accomplishments of Africans. Why do I need a passport to get me across a border that was drawn by someone else? I refuse to get a passport by any other country. I refuse to be defined by the boundaries that were set by someone else who does not understand me. For where we are now, we are here, but I expect and hope that from today, actually from 2 days ago, we are no longer defined by the trauma of the Middle Passage. And everyone has talked about what will come after this. We have all these investment summits, and we talk about all of this and what will happen next. But like I said, this is more than just trade and investments. This is understanding that we are one, we're the same, and we in the Global South need to be able to believe in each other, to trust each other, and take this forward. We have champions that we can fall behind. We have President Orama. We always talk about President Orama on this podium for a reason. There have been organizations who have been charged with, one, connecting Africa, and two, connecting Africans. And these organizations have been around for tens of years, 50 years, 60 years. But it is only in the last 10 years that we have truly begun to connect with each other. And these 10 years were the years being promoted by President Orama. So you will hear us talk about him so much, not just because he's the president of a large organization that gives out money, but because he's a man with a vision that put it to execution and used what he had to make it happen. And this is the charge that I give to everyone in this room and everyone watching. We cannot leave this conversation just to governments alone. We cannot leave this conversation just to big businesses alone. This affects everyone, every single person, regardless of strata, regardless of financial weight, regardless of whether you are a large business owner or a petty trader. This affects each and every one of us, because until we understand who we are, until we accept who we are, we will continue to be defined by other people and their metrics. So after this, everyone says, what is next? We have a signing, like Professor Adeshugba said, for the Chambers of Commerce. There are conversations already happening between our governments. There are conversations that will happen today and tomorrow between the government of St. Kitts and Nevis and large business owners, because we understand that government and business is what makes the difference. 2 days ago, I said this is the beginning of our future. Today, we are in that future. We can only continue from here. And I thank everyone, Ms. Karima Siko, every single person in this room, because when we started to plan this, we thought, we've not done this before. It's never been done what we're trying to do. We'll probably have 20 or 30 people in the room. And then we started to talk about it. A lot of people didn't take me seriously, even after I said to them that, no, the Prime Minister of St. Kitts is coming. And they're like, okay. Then we started registrations, and we're struggling in the beginning, 20 people, 30 people. And then for some reason, it's 100 people. And before we knew it, we're 300 people, and we started to worry. We really started to worry. Do we have a large enough space? How are we going to do this? And I have to say, this has been God all the way, because there are people who have come into this who I never knew, but threw in their expertise. Nanaude, thank you very much. For free, he supported this. He looked at the agenda. He did his very best. Nana, please take your flowers. And there's so many other people behind the scenes that I cannot even begin to name, because then we won't leave here for another year. I mean, we would like to have you here for another year, of course. Thank you, everyone. I cannot say it enough, but I would leave with this. We have to define who we are. And though in St. Kitts you say you are small enough, I say we are big enough. Thank you.
The standing ovation is so unprecedented and very encouraging. I am overwhelmed, so excited that this is happening. And please, ladies and gentlemen, can we give it up one more time for Ms. Aisha Maina. Thank you so much. I was actually going to get tempted to ask you to take a bow, just as you told your team to. Maybe after the exchange of pleasantries, I'm going to be compelled to get you back to the stage so you can take a bow, and then we'll celebrate you with another bigger round of applause one more time. We'll do that. Just hang on to it. Aisha, do you mind after that hug? I'm going to be giving you a virtual one. I'll give you a virtual hug from here, but please just take a bow like you asked the rest of your team to. Please give her another round of applause. Thank you. I think I'm compelled to say that Aisha is the lady with the 4 C's. She's got the capacity, she's shown competence, she's got the character, and she is capable. Ladies and gentlemen, one more big round of applause for her and her team. Thank you. And I think with this summit, you've actually shattered the glass ceiling. We're just looking forward to something bigger in the coming year by the special grace of God. Congratulations and thanks to all of you too. Thank you. Before I bring on the special guest of honor, whose effort has also brought great success to this outing, which is a meeting outing for Aquarian Consult with this type of summit, our special guest of honor and your very lovely wife, I'd say this. There's a song that is after my heart, made popular by Gramps Morgan. They belong to the Morgan Heritage family. I'm so inclined to reggae, so please kindly indulge me. This very track talks about people like you. And it says, if you give a little more than you take, and if you try to fix more than you break, if you are the kind who takes time to help a stranger in the rain, there's a place for people like you. Now, so that I don't sound like a broken record, I'd like to just plead with the convener and our special guest, Vaughan. I know that you have a lot of activities lined up for you. I just want to take time out to play a few of his, just one or two of his stanzas. And then the most important aspect, because I'm saying someone come to me, it means we don't have much time. And so I'll take that, and I'll just stop at saying that the chorus is what would wow you. And it says, I've heard up there the streets are made of gold, and when you get there, there's a hand to hold. I believe when your days down here are through, there's a place up there for people like you. This speaks for Aisha, and this speaks for the Prime Minister and all of your team. Can we please give them a big round of applause? And so, the rap has been done by the convener. I'm going to get compelled again to invite Aisha back to the podium so that she'll be doing the very last aspect for us. By the way, we didn't read a bio, but she is a broadcaster par excellence, and she is internationally recognized as such. Please, with that velvety voice of yours, please bring the person that you intend to bring. Can we please give her a round of applause? She's going to be an MC for this time.
Thank you, Andy. So I have two announcements. One is in May 31 to June 3, there is the St. Kitts and Nevis Gateway Investment Summit that I hope a lot of people will come to. And to facilitate that, should we have enough numbers, rather than having to go to many other countries to get to our brothers, we would have a charter that will take us directly. So please, we have a desk outside if you're interested. Sign up. For those people watching at home, if you're interested, please reach out to a Korean consult. We're happy to facilitate, to ensure that you visit our brothers and sisters and see exactly what we're talking about. To further this, the Korean Consult's Afri-Carribean Investment Summit is going to be an annual event. Thank you. The date for AACIS 26 is February 3, 2026, and the location will be in Abuja. Hopefully, by then, we'll be having signing ceremonies between the governments of St. Kitts and Nevis and the Nigerian government on different issues. Hopefully, by then, we'll have signings between businesses in St. Kitts and Nevis and businesses in Nigeria. But not only that, hopefully, we'll have signings between businesses in Africa and St. Kitts and Nevis. Thank you.
Okay, so that actually put paid to what we've been doing here for the past 3 days, and I'm sure it's been very rewarding. For those of you who believe that this investment summit has been very rewarding and is rewarding, and you're looking forward to being in St. Kitts and Nevis in May, would you please say aye? Aye. Those that do not have any gain from this or a takeaway from this summit, say nay. The ayes have it, ladies and gentlemen. Please give it up. At this point in time, I'd like you to also welcome with me the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, the Honorable Dr. Terence Jure. Please, a round of applause for him as he comes up for his closing remarks. And then, of course, whatever announcement he's making next will be what you should be looking forward to at St. Kitts and Nevis. Your Excellency.
You may be seated. I can't believe that 3 days have gone so quickly. It has been, for me, a tremendous 3 days. And what I expected, of course, this summit has surpassed. Can you please put your hands together for yourself and everybody else? Let me, of course, recognize former President of Mauritius. I want to thank her very much for being here with us for these 3 days. Your words I listened to keenly as an experienced politician and one who has shattered the glass ceiling, and understanding all of that, your words resonated with me because they were words of substance. Thank you very much. I want to take this opportunity, of course, to recognize Aisha. Aisha is very bold. She's a visionary. She had the audacity to walk into my office and tell me to come to Africa, drop everything and come to Africa. And if someone has vision like that and is bold as she is, you can only say yes. Thank you, Aisha. Allow me, of course, to recognize my own delegation, that delegation that has traveled so far with me. I want to thank Ambassador Hazel and the rest of the team. It's a large team to mention today, but I want to recognize all of them, and you had an opportunity to hear them and see them. You'd agree with me that they are quite capable, they have vision, and they know exactly what they want to extract from events like these. Put your hands together for my team. I want to recognize, of course, the Honorable Minister, the Minister of Agriculture, Etal, the Honorable Samuel Duggins, who spent the 3 days here. And from what I heard from one of the presenters, he's already making the type of connections that we hope these type of events would allow us to make. So I want to recognize the Honorable Minister. And Aisha, your team has been tremendous. They have worked hard. The level of professionalism and execution has been second to none. And I have participated in a lot of events like these. And so I want to say to your team and those who made this possible from this end, thank you very much. Can you put your hands together for the team as well? I also want to say thanks to the government and people of Nigeria. Without them, this would not have been possible, even though this is not an official state visit, their participation would have been instrumental as well in making sure that I would get here and that I am safe here and would facilitate an event like this. Put your hands together for your own government and your own people. And before I get into the official remarks, let me, of course, recognize all of our specially invited guests who are here today. And I look forward to meeting you all in person when I wrap up my official remarks. But allow me also to recognize the moderators. I think that they were excellent. Put your hands together for both of them. In St. Kitts and Nevis, we said, they sell off. It means that they were extremely good. So, when I first addressed this gathering at the opening of this summit, I stood before you as Prime Minister Honorable Dr. Terence Michael Drew. But today, as I stand at the close of this historic summit, I do so not in a suit and tie and pocket square, but in a traditional garb of the motherland. And I do so with even greater pride and humility as Prime Minister Dr. Aminu Eze Adekunle. And so, in St. Kitts and Nevis, we have two names, our official names and the other names that we call the nickname. This is my nickname. And I want to say it has been a loving time with my adopted family here in Abuja, who have embraced me as a brother from the West. This symbolic act has solidified my homecoming in a spiritual sense, a homecoming that binds my heart and the hearts of my people to this mother continent in a way words can scarcely capture. I offer my deepest gratitude for the honor, the warmth, and for the reaffirmation that indeed emphasizes the fact that we are one people, connected across oceans by blood, by history, and by destiny. Let me begin by closing by acknowledging the visionary mind behind this summit. And I want to do so officially. Ms. Aisha Maina and the outstanding team at Aquarian Consult. We can't thank them enough. Your foresight in creating this platform has truly opened new doors for dialogue, development, and destiny-defining partnerships. And to the government, again, and people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and to President Orama of the Afri-Carribean Bank, thank you for your gracious hospitality and for facilitating this powerful exchange of ideas and opportunities between brothers and sisters. Over the past 3 days, we have witnessed something extraordinary. This was no ordinary summit. It was a declaration of purpose. We heard from brilliant minds, policymakers, business leaders, cultural custodians, and visionaries from Abuja to Bastille and Charlestown. From Queen Consort of the Warwick Kingdom to Dr. Amina Gurib Fakim, former President of the Republic of Mauritius, to our own Premier of Nevis, the Honorable Mark Brantley, and the Minister of Agriculture, Honorable Samuel Duggins, and to everyone in between. I thank each and every contributor who brought forward compelling, thought-provoking, and visionary presentations. You did not just speak, you inspired. And as I have said from the very beginning, this summit must not just be about history, emotions, and feelings. It must be about tangible benefits, and it must continue with impact, with us investing in each other. Indeed, we came here to connect. But beyond the smiles and the handshake, we have witnessed in an investment in ideas, exploration of industries, knowledge shared across disciplines, culture celebrated in its richness and relevance, and above all, the advancement of our people, our efforts, and our purpose. This summit reminded us that the economic and social potential between Africa and the Caribbean is no abstract. It is tangible, executable, and inevitable. In my opening remarks, I spoke of the shared legacy between Nigeria and St. Kitts and Nevis. I spoke of a proud African heritage that beats in the rhythm of our music, flows in the cadence of our speech, and shines in the resilience of our people. That bond, that energy was unmistakable throughout this summit, and it has strengthened our conviction that our futures are intricately and intentionally intertwined. It is deeply gratifying to leave Nigeria knowing that more people here now understand the powerhouse that St. Kitts and Nevis, and by extension, the strength of the Caribbean really is. We have seen the direction in which my government is moving, hand in hand with our private sector, civil society, and yes, even across the political aisle. Together with the leader of the opposition and premier of Nevis, the Honorable Mark Brantley, we are building a federation that is dynamic, inclusive, and sustainable. We are building a sustainable island state, a nation that will be worthy of admiration, not just in the Caribbean, but across the globe. This summit was not only a chance to showcase how we are powering progress. It is a classroom and a laboratory, a space to learn from each other, to exchange best practices, to identify policy gaps, and to generate new ideas for collaboration and reform. We discussed soft power, as eloquently emphasized by Her Royal Majesty the Queen of Warri. She reminded us that influence does not always roar. Sometimes it whispers in the culture we share, the stories we tell, and the values we live. Let us use that soft power to shape our global narratives with pride and purpose. And throughout the summit, a phrase resonated deeply with me, and I'm surely many others. And that phrase is, by endurance we conquer. I dare say, let this be our rallying cry, for we know the road ahead may not always be easy, but united in spirit and shared ambition, we are not only strong, as we say in St. Kitts and Nevis, we are unstoppable. So let us leave this summit not just with contacts, but with commitments. And therefore encourage all to convert introductions into investments. Let us turn cultural exchanges into enterprise and ensure that when history looks back at AACIS 2025, it will mark this moment as a turning point in Afri-Carribean relations. Let me add an announcement that in February of 2026, I shall be the chairman of the CARICOM Group of Nations. And therefore, I will use that platform to connect Africa and the Caribbean at a summit that will be grandeur in Abuja in 2026. And so I intend in 2026 not to return alone, but to bring with me fellow leaders from other CARICOM countries. Some might ask, why did I choose to embark on an event like this? The same way I was asked, why did I choose to sign the first MOU with Afri-Carribean Bank? It is because deep in my heart and understanding my own personal history, that at times one has to take bold steps and set the path afire so that others can trod. And so, with that step, with Afri-Carribean Bank, which is now blossoming in CARICOM, and this step here today, which will blossom, we will surely be able to set the path to bring Africa and the Caribbean together. Among them, we are the smallest, but we have also been the boldest. As I've said before, the slave uprising started in St. Kitts and Nevis. The march towards decolonization started with uprising in St. Kitts and Nevis. And so today, St. Kitts and Nevis is saying that Africa and the Caribbean must come together. And so, my friends, we came here with hope, but we leave here with a vision. Now, we must act with courage and with the unshakable belief that our best days lie ahead, one primed by collaboration, advancement, and trust. And on behalf of the people and government of St. Kitts and Nevis, I say thank you. May the bonds we have forged here grow stronger with each passing day. And may the spirit of this summit echo far beyond these walls for the benefit of our nations, the benefit of our peoples, and for the benefit of generations to come. Thank you very much. May God bless all of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Wow, we can do better with that standing ovation and that round of applause for him. Let it resonate in the corners of the earth. The yes, Afri-Carribean Investment Summit 2025 has been a huge success. And the Prime Minister, Dr. Aminu Eze Adekunle, made a kill of it. Please, can we give him another big round of applause? Thank you so much. Thank you. Please be seated briefly. We actually got tempted to also adopt the First Lady of St. Kitts and Nevis with the names from Nigeria. And I think someone should take note of this so that by the grace of God, if we're privileged to be, if Jesus tarries, when we were privileged to be in St. Kitts and Nevis, we'll be able to remind her of those names. And your names are Aisha. Is that right? I hope that's simple enough. Then your Igbo name is Wanyoma. That sounds long, but Wanyoma is like a queen, right? And that's for Igbo. Wanyi Oma. That's Igbo. And then the Yoruba name is Oluwatoyin. Oluwatoyin. Please, can we give her a round of applause? You search for those names on Google. It's our pleasure to have you here. Thank you very much. Your pardon short, but I can give mine afterwards.
Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, for some reason it almost feels like a bittersweet moment having to draw this event to a close. I think it's been a phenomenal 3 days. Please, a round of applause for yourselves. From our speakers, panelists, and also the organizers. If you really observe the people behind the scenes, you see that they do their job with so much vigor and passion. And this is the fruit of all of their labor, and it's been amazing. Thank you for your efforts. Thank you for spending the better time of your week with us. And thank you for engaging in these conversations. We really do hope that when we gather here, well, if good Jesus tarries, like he said, next year would be able to say, yes, most of these conversations that we had here, they are now a reality. Look at your neighbor and say, it would be a reality.
It will be a reality.
Yes, and we would also love to see you there. I know I mentioned earlier that most of the faces we're seeing now would not see again. I would want to say that again. We would want to see your faces again. So please be alert for most of the programs that we have. There's a registration booth out there. Please make sure you register. There's a lot of big stuff coming from Aquarium Consult and a lot of investment summits coming up as well.
Thank you very much. Just to add to what she's told you about the registration, I do know what Aquarium Consult is about, and because their website is one that is up and running 24/7, and this is an opportunity that you have to do the registration now, because if you leave this to happen till the end of April, you might not be able to get a seat at the summit. And so I quickly want to encourage you and to admonish you to please quickly take sake, seize this opportunity and go ahead and ensure that you do your registration. But of course, this last 3 days has been very transformative, and I must tell you, my takeaway from here is that I've made more friends and there was not one enemy. And that is the essence of it all. Thank you very much for forging this very great bond, and may God bless us all. I'm Andy Gabriel, and by the special grace of God, I look forward to seeing all of you again sometime or some of the time. God bless you and have a wonderful day. We'll be taking the national anthems of both countries. We started with that of St. Kitts and Nevis, so we're starting with that of the host country, Nigeria, and then we'll take that of St. Kitts and Nevis afterwards. Media team, if you're ready, national anthem to bring this 3-day very important summit to a close. St. Kitts and Nevis out. Thank you very much. God bless you all.